Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Bob McKillop Show, brought to you by OrthoCarolina. I'm John Kilgore, along with the head coach of the Davidson Wildcats, Bob McKillop. Good to see you, Coach.
Great to be with you, John. Always good to be with our fans, and thank you for viewing us today.
Coach, we start back because this happened since our last show, the game on the road against LaSalle. What did you like about that game, and what did you dislike?
We continue to show our fight to the end. We were down a pretty good number, and yet we fought back consistently. And what is becoming perhaps an Achilles heel for us is we're not able to stop people, John. We're giving up 45% from the three-point line, 47% from the field, and unless we are improving in our ability to defend people, we're going to struggle.
Your teams have always been good defensively. What's going on with that?
I think there's some hesitancy. We're tentative, and generally when you have this sense of expectation and you have this sense that we've got to win this game, it puts you on your heels a little bit. And I'm responsible for that. I need to have more joy. I need to have more fun. And I think that will cascade down to our players, and they need to have more fun, and there needs to be more joy in the way that we are playing.
Do you feel a need with this particular group to change things that you've done successfully for a long time?
I think it's always a process of adaptation. It's always a process of change based upon your roster, based upon the circumstances, based upon the previous year. And there's no doubt in my mind that I need to take a more visible and prominent role in exciting our guys, in energizing our guys, and inspiring our guys. And not just in a locker room, and not just in a practice session, but in every aspect of our relationship together.
Davidson was against Duquesne in this building, and Steph Curry. It was a big night for Steph Curry. Students lined up, Coach, 7 o'clock in the morning to get tickets to the game. And I want to ask you about the importance of a home crowd, especially in this conference.
We're learning for 3 years now that each night in the Atlantic 10 is a tremendous challenge. And the challenge is the travel. The challenge is the level of talent. The challenge is the outstanding coaches. And, of course, the challenge is the venues. And when you have a decisive home court advantage because of your crowd, that pays big dividends. We saw that so visibly and so clearly last Saturday when we played Virginia Commonwealth.
Coach, you look at this league this year, do you see a silk stocking district, a middle class, a lower echelon, or you just see balance from top to bottom in the league?
There's balance from top to bottom, and I look at scores, and scores are sometimes deceptive because home and away, the confidence level from the previous week's action. But when you see Virginia Commonwealth beat LaSalle by 38, after LaSalle had beaten us, after we had beaten Virginia Commonwealth, you start to get a little bit more attentive to the ebb and flow and the balance that exists in this league.
And I tell you, it didn't take one game can turn it around. Fordham came in here, I think, lost 9 out of 10, won the game here, and then they got on a hot streak.
They certainly have the confidence factor is something that you earn, and you earn it by your performance.
When we continue on the Bob McKillop Show, we're going to meet one of his really outstanding players, and we'll do it right after this. Welcome back, everybody. One of the outstanding players on this Davidson team, of course, is senior guard Jack Gibbs. And, Coach, he's been good for a long time. Tell us a little bit about the recruiting process, what you saw in him as a high school player.
It was interesting because Jack got hurt in his first game as a junior. Went in for a layup towards the end of the game. Matt McKillop was at the game recruiting, and he tore his ACL. And it was the first time Jack had experienced injury, and an injury that dramatic kept him out as a junior, kept him out during the summer, and he did not have much of a high school career in his senior year because he was handicapped that much of that year. The fact that we committed to him and stayed with him and showed our genuine interest in him after the injury I think was a very important process for Jack to experience because he saw how much we really wanted him. And some of the teams that were recruiting him dropped off. We were feverish in our recruitment of him, and certainly delighted that he has joined us. And I got to say this, it's hard to believe he's a senior, and I am going to enjoy every day, every practice, every film session, every game as he finishes his career because he's been a joy to coach.
Absolutely he has, and what a player he is. Jared Latch of our staff had this opportunity to sit down and talk to Jack Gibbs.
I'm joined right now by senior Jack Gibbs on this week's player feature here on the Bob McKillop Show. And Jack, there's a lot of things that separate you from other guys that have come through Davidson, but one of those is you're going to be tabbed as the only 3-time captain. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it means a lot. Coach put his trust in me early on. He knew that we needed a point guard after Tom, and Tyler was about to graduate, so he put his trust in me to step in as a leader early on in my career, and I think that definitely helped me with my confidence going into my sophomore year. And I mean, it's an honor to be able to be the first 3-time captain and go out and help lead these guys the past couple of years. So, I mean, I'm grateful, and it means a lot.
Now in your senior campaign, it's probably hard to imagine we're at this point right now. When you look back at some of this experience so far, what are some of the things that stand out to you?
One of the biggest things is I've got tons of relationships that I didn't think I'd come to know when I came here to Davidson. The team is like my family. I do most everything with them on campus, whether it's eating, board games, video games, just spending time with them. It's just changed my life in a positive way, and I mean, grateful for the relationships that I've got to come to know.
Now, as you've changed, so is this campus, this program. You're the only one that's able to make a contrast between the Southern Conference Davidson and now Davidson and the Atlantic 10 new facility. What has that transition been like, and the transformation to be a part of that?
It's been pretty cool to see the building go up. There was talks about it when I first got here, but we weren't sure if we were going to get the money or not, and the plans to go through. But seeing it come up, and the fact that we have 24-hour access to go in there and shoot, and we don't have to split times with other teams to play on the court, it's done a lot for our academics and athletics, being able to get earlier flights out, be able to practice earlier so we don't have to settle for McDonald's after practice or pizza. So it's been pretty cool to see how the campus has changed and how the Davidson community has kind of rallied around us as we made the transition to the A-10.
Now, a lot of people will be out there and wonder, what is Jack Gibbs' thoughts on what he does post-Davidson basketball and post-graduation? Have you had time to even think about that much?
Right now I'm trying to live in the moment, but obviously my goal has always been to try to play in the NBA. It's been a dream since I was a little kid, so I'm trying to do everything that I can to be able to get to that point and just continue my basketball career after college.
Now, I know a big thing, you had a larger Ohio contingent last year on this team than you do now. You've still got some guys, Peyton being one of them. And there's one thing that really permeates with all you guys, and that's being big-time Buckeyes fans.
Yeah.
So you've sort of been spoiled, I guess, this year, a little more disappointing. But
yeah.
I went to college in Ohio. That's a big deal,
Yeah.
Ohio State.
Dropped a tough one to Clemson, not gonna lie. It wasn't a great game, great showing, but yeah, I mean, me and Peyton try to watch all the Ohio State games that we can. I know we played Charlotte the day that Ohio State had the double overtime win against Michigan, so we were trying to check the scores before the game and see how the game was going. And our athletic trainer, Chris, is a big Michigan fan, so we kind of like to jab at him and go back and forth. But yeah, we've converted John Axel and to being a Ohio State fan. He's a big Buckeye fan and a Cavs fan. So we don't have as many as Ohio guys, but we're trying to convert. We can convert them to being Ohioan.
Well, good luck with that. Jack, thanks for spending time with us. That's going to do it for this week's player segment. We had Jack Gibbs. Enjoyed talking to him. We'll be back with more on the Bob McKillop Show.
A big part of Davidson basketball every season is fan participation and the interest the fans show in Coach McKillop's team. And so we encourage fans to send questions in that Coach McKillop can answer, and we've got a couple this week, Coach. One comes from Zach from right here in Davidson, North Carolina, and he wants to know how Keyshawn Pritchett's game has evolved and how it's coming along since he's been at Davidson.
For 2 years, Keyshawn didn't step on a court and run and jump. It was a very difficult time period for him. His rehabilitation process was lengthy, was very involved, was very consuming, and he was so religious about it. He was consistent every day, working feverishly with no guarantee that he'd be back playing because it was microfracture surgery, and there were some questions as to whether he was going to play again. And he continued to fight through the challenge, and when he first took the court in November and stepped in and got some playing time, the rust was very evident. The timing is perhaps the biggest thing. And when there's timing involved, it intrudes upon your confidence. So it's been a process where not only has he had to regain and restore his physical health, he's had to regain and restore his emotional health. And slowly but surely, he's gotten to that point where he's not 100%, but he's good enough at the level he's at now where he can contribute and help us, even to the point of playing him in the starting lineup.
Keyshawn Pritchett, young man, we're talking about it. One of the things I've noticed, Coach, he seems to be getting more confident with every dribble, with every plays in the game.
He's a willing learner, a willing worker, and a great teammate. And if he continues to show the progress that he's shown in the past 2 months, he's going to make us smile for years to come.
Another question here comes from Charleston, South Carolina, from Mike down in Charleston. He wants you to talk about the strategy and advantages that you create when you go small with 4 guards around Peyton at the 5.
That would give us an opportunity to stretch the court. It would make them, meaning the opponent, have to have a different kind of defensive strategy. The problem we have, the 8-10 generally plays 2 big guys. But when we had teams the other night like LaSalle that played 5 guards, it created a problem in reverse for us. So there are advantages, and we as a coaching staff need to have a little bit more decisiveness in playing a guy like Oscar Mickelson as a big guard by playing a lineup in which Peyton can be the 5, but Oscar Mickelson can be the 4, or even Keyshawn can be the 4. And what was interesting in the Virginia Commonwealth game, we played Rusty Regal at the 4 spot, and we played Peyton Aldridge at the 3 spot. And I think you'll see some of that as we go down through the conference schedule.
Coach, when all these mismatches that coaches are searching for, are we seeing more or less zone defense or gimmick defenses today than we used to?
I believe that you're seeing less zone than we used to, but more gimmick. For example, LaSalle, they switched at 4 spots, but covered Peyton all by himself. And you're going to see games in which certain ball screens there's switching, certain ball screens there's not switching. Certain postmen are doubled, certain postmen are not doubled. So the matchups are not just matchups what you can do offensively, they're also matchups what you can do defensively.
We have some interesting stories nationally in basketball too. Coach keeps up with all of that. So we're going to talk about a guy that's got something really special going out in the Big 12. We'll do it right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Bob McKillop program. Coach, one of the, at least I think, one of the remarkable stories in college basketball these last few years, Bill Self at Kansas, this is his 13th year. He has won 12 consecutive Big 12 regular season championships. I don't think maybe the casual fan knows how hard that is to accomplish.
Winning a conference championship once is difficult. Winning it twice, 3 times, very difficult. To do it 12 years in a row, and to do it in a conference where there are such great teams, players, coaches, that's an extraordinary statement about excellence.
Coach, I've also heard you talk about national matters in basketball. Some so-called experts, some real experts, are saying this year maybe not, but 8 or 9 teams have a legitimate shot at the national championship. Where would you put the number as realistic?
I would think there's 10 to 12 teams that could win the national championship. And the dynamic that is occurring nowadays is, I think, twofold. The one-and-done process, right, in which guys are coming in and leaving after 1 year. And some teams are responding to that by playing guys for 4 years, as we've seen happen with Butler advancing to the Final Four. It was generally with a mature veteran team who had been there for 4 years. So you have the one-and-dones. Injuries are an incredible factor today. And, watching the NFL playoffs, I constantly heard mention of Green Bay Packers and how many injuries they had. Mm-hmm. Constantly heard about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the injuries that they have. And it's gotten to a point now that there's such a concern about injuries that coaches are cutting back with their practice time, with their repetitions, with their live action in practice. And you're seeing some coaches do that, some coaches not do it. So you get a different kind of preparation. So the injuries, the one-and-dones, and a different kind of preparation as a response to injuries is creating a different dynamic in college basketball today.
I remember when Tubby Smith was coaching at Kentucky, he made the comment that you give me 4-year players that I've had for 4 years against your hotshot freshman McDonald's All-Americans that I'm going to beat you. What is your attitude about experience versus just raw, inexperienced talent?
Well, experience has to be twofold. It has to be talented experience, mm-hmm, number one, and number two, it has to be experience that performs at a high level. Just because you're a senior doesn't mean you're going to outplay a freshman. You have to have talent, and you have to have the confidence and the background where you've played very well.
Do you have any strong feelings about the one and done? Is it good for college basketball, bad for basketball? What do you think?
Well, let me get a couple on my roster and I'll let you know.
Most coaches would take them, though, wouldn't they?
I would think so. It's a different dynamic here at Davidson College because of the culture of our school, the nature of our school. And it's not easy. People, they talk about John Calipari and Mike Krzyzewski saying, boy, if I had that roster, I'd win a national championship every year. No. For Mike and for John to have to create a new mentality for this 18-year-old kid in a space of 2-3 months in preparation for a college season, and this guy knowing that he's going to the league after the season, well, it's a different kind of coaching than you have when you're coaching guys for 4 years. So credit to John and credit to Mike that, yes, they have those kind of situations, but they have coached very, very, very well amidst that.
We're going to come back with Coach and talk about Davidson's week ahead right after this. Busy week for the Wildcats. You go on the road again, Coach. No easy games in this league. To Fordham, a team you just played about 10 days ago.
They have a chaotic style of defense, and Jeff Neubauer, their coach, has been able to implement it in this short period of 2 years. And they're playing at a high level right now. They're feeling very confident. Had a great win with VCU coming into their building. A last-second win over Massachusetts, making a pivotal steal at the end of the game. This is a team that is dangerous for anybody in the Atlantic 10.
Tough to get ready for a team in this since you played them so recently.
Not really. The memory of what they did against us and what we tried to do against them is very visible and very clear. And it's a type of game where you need that memory in order to improve yourself and get better and prepare.
Well, Coach, it's going to be an interesting week. Good luck on that trip to New York.
Well, thank you, John. Going to be good to be back in New York. Lots of friends and fans at the game, and certainly fond memories of Rose Hill and Fordham's gym.
Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll be back to talk more Davidson basketball with Coach Bob McKillop next week.